Good evening and welcome to the big story on NDTV Profit. I'm Nupur, Talwar, Suri. Well, from being the sixth richest man in the world in 2008 to being labelled a fraudster, industrialist Anil Ambani's fortunes continue to take a turn for the worse. In another setback, the Solar Energy Corporation of India has slapped a 3-year ban on Anil Ambani's Reliance Power and its subsidiaries from participating in future tenders. Now, this penalty follows the submission of fake bank guarantees during the last round of bidding. This scandal is far from the first for Anil Ambani, of course. He's been involved in multiple controversies in the past, since the 2018 insolvency of Reliance Communications. Now, just months ago, SEBI had banned him from the securities market for 5 years over fund diversion charges. In today's episode of The Big Story, we uncover what this ban means for the reputation of Anil Ambani and entities that are associated with him. First of all, we go across to our reporter Vishwanath Nair, who has the details of how this scam was exposed. He filed this report.
So what has happened here is that essentially Reliance Power, which is an Anil Ambani-owned company, has been exposed for participating in a bid process with unclean hands, essentially. What they have done is that they've submitted certain documents which proved to be false. Now, I'll take you through what exactly happened in this entire story. Essentially, the Solar Energy Corporation of India, SECI, which conducts all the tenders for the government with respect to solar power projects, had conducted an entire bid process back in June of 2024. After that, essentially, certain discrepancies were found with Reliance Power subsidiary and the way that they have submitted the bid. What exactly they did was that they submitted a foreign bank guarantee as part of the earnest money deposit that they have to do. This foreign bank guarantee was supported by SBI. That's what Reliance Power subsidiary had claimed. What SECI in its investigation found out was that there was a specific email ID through which an email was sent from SBI supporting this bid. However, that email ID turned out to be fake. Now, you can see in this in the graphics on the screen, the email says S-BI, which is a very clear indicator that this was probably a fake ID. Next, what happens is that SECI pulls up the company. What it does is goes to SBI, and SBI confirms that this email ID was fake, that they have not supported the foreign bank guarantee that the Reliance Power subsidiary submitted as part of the bidding process. Next, SECI essentially decides to cancel the entire tender process because there were issues with the way a bidder had participated in this entire process. What sources are telling us also is that Reliance Power had actually won this bid, and after that, this has been cancelled and that bid has been pulled back. Reliance Power has on its part blamed a third-party arranger, saying that they had given them the fake bank guarantee in place, and the company did not know what actually happened on ground. But SECI has, of course, barred Reliance Power and all of its subsidiaries from participating in any future tenders for 3 consecutive years. So that's an important sort of announcement that coming from SECI this morning. They put out this notification on the website saying that Reliance Power and its subsidiaries will be completely barred. This is an important move specifically because you can see the comment that SECI made in its notice. It said that what it had discovered is that as part of the tender requirements, the endorsement of the bank guarantee against it was fake, and that was an issue. What they've also pointed out is that they have concluded, and it's logical to conclude that any action by the subsidiary of Reliance Power would have been done on the orders of Reliance Power, and therefore they had to bar the parent company as well. Important simply because Reliance Group, the Anil Ambani Reliance Group altogether, has been facing a lot of setbacks on most fronts, actually. If you were to look at an order by the Securities and Exchanges Board of India, they have barred Anil Ambani and certain other members with the Reliance Group from the securities market for 5 years. They had also levied a 25 crore penalty, which was, of course, removed by SAT. That case is still ongoing. Apart from that, you've had insolvencies of multiple Reliance Group-owned companies, specifically Reliance Communications, Reliance Capital, as well as Pipavav Defense, or what is now known as Reliance Naval and Engineering. So all of these companies are already under insolvency. This is another major setback for Anil Ambani.
Well, Well, in fact, the current set of troubles does beg some larger questions. So the big questions that we are asking this evening are, number one, has Anil Ambani's business crossed a line with fake guarantees? Is the ban a death blow to Reliance Power's reputation? And is this the end to Reliance Power's solar ambitions? And we're going to tackle each of those in just a bit. But first, we've got Vishwanath Nair joining me in the studio. Hi, Vishy. Thank you for joining us. Vishy, of course, their set of troubles don't seem to end, but obviously there has been quite a bit of wrongdoing on their part. Now, we understand they've come out with a statement. Take us through what that statement is and what do you make of it?
So, as part of the statement, now, Nupur, you and I were chatting a little earlier, and I mentioned that this is something that is going to come out in the statement, which is that they're going to blame a third-party arranger. This is something that they have maintained. And they've said that in the statement as well. They said that they have been victims of fraud, forgery, and criminal conspiracy, that this third-party arranger submitted this document on behalf of Reliance Power subsidiary. The company has actually filed a case with the Economic Offences Wing as of 16th of October, and that the company will go ahead and challenge the SECI order that came out this morning because they feel it is unfair. Couple of issues with this. Firstly, who is this third party? Nobody seems to know because it's not part of any investigation. SECI doesn't know. The company has never disclosed it to the public. Nobody actually involved in this entire process knows who this third party is. Hopefully, this FIR that they filed on 16th of October comes out at some point in time. But till that point in time, we're all pretty much blind in this entire situation. The other part, which is SECI. Now, the SECI order is in line with what their rules are. Their rules very clearly specify that if a bidder has misrepresented themselves or submitted something that is not a true document, then SECI has the right to change the entire bidding process, which is cancel it and restart it, which is what they've done. B, or they could also bar the bidders from participating in the future tenders again, which is what they've done with Reliance Power. So this is not something that is out of the blue that is coming. This is well within SECI's abilities, its powers, and they have done what they had promised in the bidding documents. And if there are falsified documents submitted to it, they can take that action.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we're going to talk more about it. But just joining us on the broadcast right now is also Mr. Shiram Subramanyam. He's the MD and founder of InGovern. Good evening, Mr. Subramanyam. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Mr. Subramanyam, first of all, what do you make of all of this that has happened? Now, the statement that Reliance Power has come out with seems to be shifting the blame away from them because they say that they are also a victim of fraud. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that it's not them who's the victim of fraud. It is SECI that seems to be the victim of fraud because falsified documents were provided to them. And apart from that, of course, the shareholders of the company and this project now has been stalled.
Good evening. Definitely, the buck stops at Reliance Power. For sure, because at the end of the day, the team within Reliance Power that put out the document should have verified all the details. Just coming from an email ID is not good enough. Whether the actual fixed deposit, the earnest money deposit, and the bank guarantee exists, whether they paid the bank guarantee fees, etc., they would only know for sure. Because no bank is going to issue a bank guarantee without charging them fees. So from that perspective, if they have given fees, then the bank guarantee should be legal, especially if it's a reputed bank. So one, as you rightly said, which is the bank that has issued this bank guarantee? Two is in lieu of the earnest deposit. Three is who is the third party is what the question began. And that too, one cannot rely on a third party. One has to have direct relation for the kinds of monies that are being talked about. One has to obviously, I would think the Reliance Power executives would have had direct discussions with the bankers be even if a third party is involved. So I am surprised that they are trying to shift the blame onto a third party. So this is totally not accepted for the kinds of money is involved, for the kinds of project that's involved, but the kind of reputation that the ADAG group is now trying to bounce back from its, as you said, the past ghosts that it is trying to bury now.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Now, you did mention the fact that obviously this has caused a lot of reputational damage to the Reliance Group, and, their troubles don't seem to end. But, what remains in public memory often in these cases is the kind of fraud that is being perpetuated.
Definitely. See, the ethos one which is, and the tone that is set at the top is what perpetrates down to the executives who are responsible probably for creating this entire mess. So at the end of the day, the ethos should be clear. The basic first principle should be clear. Of course, business failure is accepted where in that sense people could have over-leveraged themselves. There were many business groups that over-leveraged themselves and had to go insolvency process. There's a structured IBC process for that. But what is not accepted is fraud and blatant falsification of documents, channelizing and tunneling of funds, and all these. And the SEBI order really did point out about channelizing and tunneling of funds through various promoter group entities, Reliance Home Finance and the like, and thereof, which is basically public money and going into promoter entities. In this case, if there is a false document and if there is a false bank guarantee, that obviously, again, the blame rests on the company and its executives. And that is blatant fraud.
This is Vishwanath. I just wanted to get your sense. The topic of fake bank guarantees. Now, this sort of brings you back memories of another large fraud that happened just about 5 years ago. With the Nirav Modi scandal. But just to get this point clarified, since then, banks have all tightened their processes on how exactly bank guarantees are issued, how a company can claim it, and whether a company can claim that they have received a certain guarantee from a bank. Despite all of this, are there still loopholes to your mind?
I would think so. Otherwise, in this case, firstly, the foreign bank seems to have issued this. Secondly, they seem to have sort of given Indian banks sort of backstop by projecting SBI, State Bank of India, as a backstop, Indian bank backstopping that foreign bank guarantee. So from that perspective, there are loopholes to the extent that the person or the entity taking, in this case, the Solar Energy Corporation, is not able to verify the bank guarantee independently, right? I mean, if they had their direct channel of communication to the bank itself, they could independently verify. So they had to figure it out from that false email ID and the like. So there could be some scope for enhancement of tightening of rules again.
Part, I just wanted to add this question. You mentioned the fake email ID, but when you look at the email ID, it's, to me as a layperson, it's very evident that this is not actually a State Bank of India email address, right? I'm surprised that multiple people who are far more qualified than me could get fooled with something so simple.
They have not got fooled. Otherwise, these truths may not have come out at all, right? I mean, the fact is that probably that was the genesis. Two is it seems to be a very amateur attempt at firstly perpetrating a fraud, if anything. I mean, so that itself. I mean, and to think that this sort of the monies involved is very high. These are projects of high, I would think, stature and high reputation, and I would think where there are multiple bidders and the like. So when such a project is, and a group is trying to sort of bid for such a project, the chances of getting caught are very high. So the fact is, if not today, they would probably have, even if suppose there was a bank guarantee which needed to be revoked, at that time at least they would, the SECI would know about it, right?
Also, Mr. Subramanyam, now we are talking about several lacunae being there. Now, one of the lacunae many would argue is also the fact that this did go through the last round of the tender process. And it was only then that this, sort of fraud was actually caught. Now, obviously, there is a lot that can be done in that department also. Perhaps SECI can also look at that. But apart from that, what do you think, what does it mean essentially for the overturning of the tender process now? Because there is obviously going to be a delay, new bids will be called, the whole, project that was supposed to have a start date then gets delayed. Overall, do you think that even the tendering process needs to perhaps be more foolproof?
There could be possibilities, but usually this is an earnest money deposit. Usually this is done at the last stage when the project is granted to the final bidder, because the first rounds may be just pre-qualification and the like, where just the technical and financial capability of the group is considered, or the company bidding is considered. But the earnest money deposit is actually sought only at the last stage, because that is really the deposit that is sought to kickstart the project or to award the project. So from that perspective, it is only at the last stage that SECI would have come to know about it, or would have even got the bank guarantee for that matter. So from that perspective, I don't think there could be lacuna process itself, but what definitely there is a delay in the process now, which is not unheard of in many projects. Where there are, of course, projects where there are single bidders and there could be some technical failures or financial failures, and the tender doesn't go through. So this could also be considered. Obviously, now SECI needs to act post-haste in issuing a new tender and going through the process in quick time.
Sir, I wanted to get your sense on something that Nupur mentioned earlier, and then you were also highlighting that, which is the fact that there are stories and historical context to this company and its promoter specifically. When we're talking about, for example, the Reliance Home Finance case, which you mentioned earlier, which is where SEBI had barred Anil Ambani from the securities market for 5 years. I just want to get your sense, when we're talking about somebody with a precedent for breaking rules, right? Coming to the current situation, to your mind, what does this look like? Is this par for course, or maybe that was these are two separate issues and maybe need to looked at separately?
It's a tough question, because at the end of the day, it looked like the group is trying to bounce back from its past. And there were media reports that the group had raised fresh funding and has good plans in place, etc. So from that perspective, this news definitely of this bidding being false and everything is a huge setback. The SEBI ruling just a few months ago, it's again a huge setback. But these are just the fact that this group, the ADAG group, has suffered, I would think, was very overambitious in the infrastructure space, had suffered setbacks, and one thing led to another, and that led to a cascading effect. And across sectors in which they were operating in, across this one, they had tried to channelize funds. And so all these has led to the ethos of the promoter itself being questioned, the executives of the group itself being questioned, their credibility and their, I would think, their integrity, all up for question. So from that perspective, the right question to ask is whether such a group should be allowed to bid for such large projects in the first place, if anything, till their reputation is clear.
I wanted to, bring a broader question to you now. So during the day today, we heard the story about Jet Airways, where the Supreme Court has said that they're going to go ahead with liquidation of the airline, right? And over the last 10 years, now we've seen multiple large business conglomerates go down. Their businesses completely unraveling, and these once celebrated promoters not really being seen anymore on the ground. I just just wanted to get your view, what does this change look like to you? Large promoters probably no longer in the business. We are now actually seeing new guys coming into the picture and starting to form the new face of India Inc. How are you seeing this change?
Definitely. See, obviously, banks are these days behaving differently. Banks definitely are ring-fencing their, I would say, lending to promoter groups. No longer are they relying just on the name of the promoter. Two is directed lending, politically intervened, and directed lending has come down a bit from the heydays. Three is the IBC process of 2016. Definitely, the insolvency and bankruptcy process definitely enables banks and a committee of creditors to go and seek out this one if there is default and the like. And so that is the strengthening, and that's where the entire banking system has been cleaned up of the NPMS of the past 10, 15 years. So from that perspective, the bankers should not just rely on the names of people or the purported reputation. They should look at the project feasibility and viability and fund it from that perspective. Business failure is accepted, right? The entire IBC process relies on the fact that bankruptcy is fine. I mean, there is no shame towards bankruptcy as long as it's business failure. So only integrity and ethos and channelizing funds to promoter entities from the main project companies, etc., that is not accepted.
What you're essentially saying is, there are several of these big business owners which become larger than life, and there is a certain trust that people attach to these people. But obviously, it's quite misplaced.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, even if a company comes out with a public issue, which is an IPO, say, obviously investors are trusting the promoters and the management to with their hard-earned money. So that is an element of trust. Similarly, bankers are also trusting the banking fund, which is effectively depositors' funds, including your funds and my funds, which are lying in banks. Bankers are trusting the promoters to execute the projects. Yes, there could be project failure. That is the entire element of lending, right? I mean, lending, there is a risk that some part of the amount lent will not come back. That is the entire banking system. But what is not accepted is promoters channelizing it, taking it away from India, gold plating projects, inflating project costs unnecessarily, and then obviously taking money out of the project companies and then using it for personal, I would say, building personal mansions, aeroplanes, and the like, and not paying back the money.
Do stay with us. Vishy, I just want to ask you this. You were the one who uncovered the story for us. What's very interesting is the manner in which this fraud was perpetuated. You have someone with a fake email ID that's given. And this goes to the last leg of the tendering process, and then we come to know that this entity has now been barred for 3 years, action is being taken. But what I wanted to ask you was that can SBI, which was supposed to be the lender in this case, actually take legal action against Reliance Power, because they also suffer reputational damage, don't they?
Yeah, so there are two ways to look at it. One is financial loss, right? Like if SBI were to, for example, if these at some point in time these guarantees were to be called, and what essentially this process means is that the foreign bank is liable to pay for the company. That's what a bank guarantee is, and the endorser pays on behalf of the foreign lender. Now, if there was a financial loss involved in this case, then I don't think any bank would have just sat back and taken this. They would have definitely gone for legal action against the promoter. And especially if these were false documents. That's what happened with the Punjab National Bank, because when Nirav Modi's bank guarantees, LOUs were encashed, it was realized that Punjab National Bank had never actually issued these. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is the reputational part of it, which here no harm done so far because things were caught earlier, and people are pretty much safe. But the question here is, should SBI allow their name to be misused like this? in the past, not a directly linked example, but in the past, somebody had opened a fake SBI ATM or a fake SBI branch and taken money from people and had tried to vanish. Now, SBI did take action. Even though those people were caught and money was recovered, SBI took action against the people who were involved in that case, right? In this case, ideally, they should. Will they is a different question, because the bank has a lot of legal issues already at hand, and those are bona fide borrowers who have not repaid, and the bank has to chase them, right? So here the bank has no knowledge. So I'm not entirely sure if they'll spend the time to go after them, but you know, it's their name at stake. So for sure the bank should.
And so what you're saying is that they might have different priorities at this point in time, but a big bank like SBI being named obviously will be a cause of concern.
Yes.
Also, very quickly, what does this now mean in terms of the tender process? Who's obviously, you know, there's going to be another bidder, and this then goes forward. So if you have any details on that.
So as of now, what we know is that one of the other bidders was JSW Energy, and they were also you know, in advanced stages when the decision was being made, right? And will they participate again? Most likely. I don't have any confirmations from JSW Energy that they will participate in the process, but if the process is started again, then they will. And hopefully somebody else also comes in into the entire bidding thing. But the situation here is that this is now a tainted process, right? So SECI has to come up with a new bid document, but it has to come up with a completely new set of rules so that they are not victims of any other similar kind of a fraud with anybody else. And them barring Reliance Power is one thing, but sort of blocking any kind of potential frauds in the future, that will be something that we have to watch out for. And hopefully we will see that once the new bidding document comes out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'd like to also thank Mr. Subramanyam, who joined us earlier. Thank you very much for being with us on the stories. But at this point in time, SECI has acted against Reliance Power, and they have barred barred the company from participating in any tender process for the next 3 years. Thank you very much, Bishi, for joining us as well. Well, that's it from us on the big story right now. Thank you for tuning in, but do stay with us as we bring you more news and updates.